Family dinners were supposed to feel safe, warm, predictable. That night, I believed it would be no different. The dining room smelled of roasted chicken and spices, the kind of smell that once made me feel like I belonged. Laughter floated around the table as plates were passed and glasses were filled. Everyone looked comfortable, everyone except my son. Adam sat beside me, shoulders slightly hunched, fingers fidgeting with the edge of his napkin. He always did that when he felt overwhelmed. At 10 years old, he was gentle in a world that demanded toughness. His eyes followed conversations carefully, as if he were afraid to miss something important or say something wrong. "Adam," my brother said suddenly, leaning back in his chair with a grin that didn't reach his eyes. "How's school going these days?" I felt it instantly, that tightening in my chest, the warning bell. Adam swallowed. It's okay," he said softly. "Just okay." My brother pressed, his voice loud enough to command the table. "I thought with all those tutors, you'd be doing better by now." My fork froze halfway to my mouth. "He's working hard," I said, keeping my voice calm. "That's what matters." My brother chuckled, shaking his head. "Come on, he's 10, still mixing up words, still reading slower than kids half his age." The room fell quiet, not uncomfortable enough for someone to stop him, but quiet enough to let the words echo. Adam's face turned red. He stared down at his plate, blinking fast. I could see him shrinking, trying to disappear into the chair. I looked around the table, waiting for someone, anyone, to say something. My mother avoided my eyes. My sister pretended to sip her drink. My husband sat directly across from us, staring at his food like it suddenly required deep concentration. My brother laughed again. I'm just saying life's not going to be easy for him if he doesn't toughen up. Right, that was when Adam whispered, barely audible, "Mom, can I go to my room?" My heart shattered quietly. "Yes," I said, forcing a smile for him, of course. He slid off the chair, careful not to make noise, and walked away with his head down. I watched my son retreat down the hallway, carrying shame that was never his to hold. No one stopped him. No one apologized. The conversation resumed as if nothing had happened. Something inside me went cold. Later, while dessert was being served, my brother leaned toward my husband. "At least your kid's not that sensitive, huh?" he joked. My husband laughed. That sound was sharper than any insult. I stared at him, waiting for him to catch my eye, waiting for regret or embarrassment or even hesitation. Nothing. That was the moment I realized I was alone at that table. That night, after everyone left, I found Adam curled up in his bed, clutching his pillow. "Mom," he asked quietly, "why does Uncle think I'm stupid?" I sat beside him, my throat burning. "He doesn't." I lied gently. "Some people say hurtful things because they don't understand." Adam nodded, but his eyes told me he understood more than I wanted him to. After he fell asleep, I locked myself in the bathroom and cried silently so no one could hear. I cried for my son. For myself, for every time I had swallowed discomfort to keep peace. I thought about everything I had done for this family, things no one ever acknowledged. Late nights, quiet sacrifices, money sent without questions, tuition paid without credit, and tonight, this was how they treated my child. Worse, this was how my husband allowed it. When I confronted him in the bedroom, my voice was shaking. "Why didn't you say anything?" He sighed, rubbing his temples. "You're overreacting. He was just joking. He humiliated our son. He needs to learn to handle criticism." My husband replied flatly. That sentence landed heavier than the laughter earlier. I turned away, staring at the wall, realizing something terrifying. If I stayed silent, this would happen again. If I stayed generous, they would keep taking. If I stayed married, my son would keep paying the price. As I lay awake that night, staring into the darkness, one thought settled clearly in my mind. That dinner didn't just hurt my son. It ended something in me, and once something ends, something else always begins. The days after the dinner passed in a blur, but the heaviness stayed. It followed me through the house, clung to my chest while I cooked, cleaned, and smiled when I was expected to. Adam was quieter than usual. He spoke less at breakfast, avoided eye contact when reading aloud. and asked twice if he really had to go to the next family gathering. That question alone told me everything. Late one afternoon, I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop open, staring at numbers that had once made me feel proud. Organized, responsible, they now felt like proof of how invisible I had made myself. For 3 years, I had paid my brother's son's private school tuition. No one asked me to, no one forced me, but when my brother lost his job and complained about failing as a father, I stepped in. Quietly, I told myself it was temporary. I told myself family mattered more than money. Every month, the payment went out under my name. Every month, no thank you followed. I thought back to the dinner table, my brother mocking my son, the same man whose child attended a prestigious school because of my sacrifice. The unfairness of it tightened my chest until I had to stand up just to breathe. That evening, my brother called. "Hey," he said casually, as if nothing had happened. "School sent a reminder. Tuition's due again next week. Just giving you a heads up, not a request." Not a question, a reminder. I stared at the wall while he talked about expenses and how stressful everything was. He didn't mention Adam. He didn't mention the dinner. He didn't mention the laughter. "I'll take care of it," I said, my voice steady in a way that surprised even me. After hanging up, I sat in silence, listening to the ticking clock and wondering when I had become this person useful, reliable, and easily ignored. That night, I tried again with my husband. "I need you to understand something," I said carefully. "What your brother did hurt Adam deeply." He barely looked up from his phone. "You're still on that." "Of course I am. He's our son. He needs thicker skin." And my husband replied, "The world won't baby him." I felt something crack. "The world might not," I said quietly, "but his family should." And my husband sighed, frustration creeping into his voice. "You're too emotional about this. You've always been." That sentence stung worse than I expected. I had been emotional when Adam was born early. Emotional when I stayed up nights, teaching him letters. Emotional when I stretched my income to support everyone else. Funny how emotional only became a problem when I asked for respect. Later that week, I overheard my husband on the phone in the garage. I wasn't eavesdropping. I was just passing by when I heard my brother's name. "I know." And my husband said, "She'll calm down. She always does." I stopped walking. "We'll figure something out if she complains about the money." He continued, "She wouldn't really stop paying. She cares too much." The words hit me like ice water. I backed away quietly, my heart pounding. That was the moment I realized my kindness wasn't seen as generosity. It was seen as weakness. The next morning, while Adam was at school, I opened my laptop again. I pulled up the tuition account. My finger hovered over the payment button longer than it ever had before. I thought of Adam's face at the dinner table. I thought of my brother's laughter. I thought of my husband's silence. And then I closed the tab. Not yet, I told myself, not until I was sure. That afternoon, Adam came home with a worksheet covered in red corrections. He looked defeated. "I tried, Mom," he said quickly, like he expected disappointment. I pulled him into a hug. "I know you did." That night we sat together, sounding out words slowly, celebrating every small victory. I realized something as we read side by side. No one had ever fought for me the way I was fighting for him. And maybe that was okay, because I was done fighting for people who wouldn't fight for us. As Adam fell asleep on my shoulder, one truth became clear. I had been carrying this family on my back, and they had mistaken my strength for obligation. But obligations can be ended, and I was finally learning how. I didn't announce my decision. I didn't argue or threaten or demand apologies. I simply stopped. On a quiet Tuesday morning, after Adam left for school, I sat at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee growing cold beside me. Sunlight spilled across the floor, ordinary and calm, almost mocking in how peaceful it felt for such an important moment. I logged into the tuition account. For years, the payment confirmation screen had felt like a badge of responsibility. That day, it felt like a chain finally slipping off. I canceled the scheduled transfer. No email to my brother. No warning to the family. No discussion with my husband. Just one click and silence. The reaction came faster than I expected. That afternoon, my phone rang. My brother's name lit up the screen. I let it ring twice before answering. "Why didn't the payment go through?" he snapped, skipping any greeting. "It won't." I replied calmly. There was a pause. "What do you mean it won't?" "I mean I'm done paying tuition." His laugh was sharp and disbelieving. "You're joking." "No." The line went quiet, then exploded. "You can't do this," he said. "Do you know what this does to my kid?" I closed my eyes briefly. "Do you know what you did to mine?" Silence again, this time heavier. "That was just a joke," he scoffed. "You're being dramatic. I'm being done," I said and hung up. My hands were shaking, but my voice hadn't. That mattered to me. By evening, the family group chat was alive with messages. My sister, "This is cruel." My mother, "Family doesn't turn their back like this." My brother, "You're punishing an innocent child because you're sensitive." I typed slowly. "I protected my child. You laughed at him." Then I muted the chat. For the first time, I chose peace over explanation. That night, my husband confronted me. "What did you do?" he demanded, standing in the doorway like a stranger. "I stopped paying." I said simply. "You had no right." He snapped. "That affects everyone. That money came from my account." "Our account," he corrected. I looked at him steadily. Funny how it was ours when paying, but mine when I was hurt. He had no answer. Instead, he accused me of being selfish, vindictive, unstable. Words designed to make me shrink back into the woman who fixed everything. I didn't. I went to bed early, heart racing but mind clear. The truth didn't come all at once. It arrived in fragments. A bank alert I didn't recognize. A transfer I hadn't approved. A name I shouldn't have seen. My husband had been sending money to my brother regularly from our shared savings, while letting me believe I was the only one helping, while watching me stretch myself thin. Worse, some of the messages weren't about money at all. "She overreacts. She's too soft. He's not normal anyway." I stared at the screen, my chest burning. My husband had been agreeing with them, mocking our son behind my back, defending silence over decency. The next morning, my brother showed up unannounced. "You think you're powerful now," he sneered, "cutting us off like this." I stood in the doorway, blocking his view of the house. "I think I'm finished," I said. He scoffed. "You'll come crawling back. You always do." I smiled, not sweetly, but knowingly. "Watch me not." He left angry. I closed the door calmly. That night, Adam asked, "Uncle's mad at you, isn't he?" I knelt beside him. "Uncle doesn't get to be unkind anymore." Adam nodded slowly, absorbing that lesson. As I tucked him into bed, I felt something unfamiliar settle in my chest. Relief. The revenge wasn't loud. It wasn't cruel. It was clarity, and it was only the beginning. The hardest part wasn't leaving. It was accepting that I should have left sooner. The house felt different once the truth was out. Every room held echoes of conversations I had trusted, promises I had believed, and love I had mistaken for loyalty. My husband moved through the space like a stranger, defensive and irritated, as if I had broken something precious instead of finally seeing it clearly. We spoke less. When we did, it was about logistics, bills, schedules, school. There were no apologies. No real ones, anyway. "You're tearing this family apart," he said one night, standing with his arms crossed. I looked at him calmly. "No, I'm protecting our son." He scoffed. "You're overreacting. All of this because of a joke." I didn't answer. I had learned that silence, when chosen intentionally, could be powerful. The final confirmation came quietly. I found an email thread saved under a folder my husband forgot to lock. Messages between him and my brother, stretching back months. Complaints about me, about Adam, about how embarrassing. It was to explain Adam's struggles to other parents. One line stood out, burning itself into my memory. "At least your kid's not like hers." I closed the laptop with shaking hands. That night after Adam fell asleep, I packed, not in anger, in certainty. I packed clothes, books, school supplies, and every small thing that made Adam feel safe. I left behind what could be replaced and took what couldn't: his favorite blanket, his drawings, his sense of stability. When my husband woke to an empty bed, I was already gone. We moved into a small apartment with creaky floors and too little space, but it was quiet. Peaceful. Adam picked the corner near the window as his reading spot. We made it ours slowly, cheap curtains, second-hand furniture, and laughter that felt lighter without tension pressing down on it. The family fallout was immediate. My brother complained about money. My mother begged for reconciliation. My husband demanded I come to my senses. I didn't argue. I sent one message: my child comes first. Always. Then I blocked numbers. Adam changed, not overnight, not magically, but gently. He started raising his hand in class again. He read aloud without flinching. One night, after finishing a full page without stopping, he looked at me with wide eyes. "I did it, Mom, yes." I whispered, hugging him tightly. "You did." I cried quietly that night, not from pain, but from pride. Months later, I heard through others that my brother had to pull his son out of private school, that my husband struggled financially without my support, that they blamed me. I didn't correct them, let them believe whatever helped them sleep. My revenge wasn't their downfall. It was our freedom. One evening Adam asked, "Do you miss them?" I thought carefully. "I miss who I thought they were." He nodded, satisfied. As I watched him fall asleep, book still open on his chest, I understood something deeply. Love should never require silence. Family should never demand sacrifice from the same person over and over. And protection is the purest form of revenge. They lost access to my kindness. They lost the comfort of my sacrifice. They lost the version of me who endured disrespect for peace. What they didn't take was my son's future or my dignity, and that, I realized, was the sweetest revenge of all.